Okay, we're back on the floor at NAB 2022 with Gary Trenda,
Hi.
Applications Engineer from Sound Devices. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks.
Um, I just want to first mention that we're live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. And if anybody watching on either YouTube or Facebook has a question, comment for Gary about how awesome his hair is and what he does to get it that way or whatever, maybe professional stuff too.
A lot of time, a
Leave it,
lot of product.
I bet. I can
Yeah.
imagine. I can only imagine. Leave it in the comments and we'll get it over to Gary.
Yeah.
All right. So, Gary, obviously, no booth this year.
Yeah.
I know it was a little bit like deciding whether COVID was going to be a thing or not.
Right.
But you guys are wandering around. And the big development from Sound Devices is the new A10, A20 firmware. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Sure. Yeah. So the latest announcement from us was the version 5 firmware. That's for the A10 wireless, both receiver, transmitter, and then the A20 mini transmitter. We've added a number of really significant features in that firmware release. So it's got 2 different modulation schemes now. Our original modulation, which we're just calling standard modulation, and then a long-range mode. So it's a different modulation scheme, slightly more latency. So you go from a 2 millisecond to a 3.9 millisecond latency. But with that, we get much improved range from the old modulation scheme. And so in situations where that latency is fine, which I think most location sound folks are okay with 3.9 milliseconds, that gives you an improved range. And along with that, we've added a Q meter to the receiver. So we're showing you a link quality, giving you an idea that even if your received signal strength indicator says, I've got full bars of RF signal, there may be a nearby interfering signal underneath that, and the link quality helps you to understand whether you have clean spectrum or maybe you've got some interference. And so the combination of your received signal strength and link quality really lets you work in a more hostile RF environment well. And so that's been very well received. I think people like seeing that link quality indicator with the new firmware. So that's the big announcement.
So when you talk about improved range,
Yeah.
the older or the original modulation versus this new modulation, what kind of comparison are you seeing generally?
Sure. I think we're telling people, generally 20% better, but it's very environment dependent because the advantage of the new modulation scheme really is the amount of fault tolerance that's built into that modulation scheme. So depending on where you are, indoors versus outdoors, it'll be different. But in all the testing we've done, all of our different walk tests, it's improved from the old system, in some cases significantly.
And is there any difference in terms of, besides the latency, is there any difference in terms of the sound quality?
No, audio is identical, so really we're just trading off latency for, the improved range.
And how has the A20 Mini been received? What have you been seeing with that? And
people have liked the A20 Mini quite a bit. I think it's been a very popular thing for us. For many years we've heard, well, we just need a smaller transmitter. We just need a smaller transmitter because a lot of people are used to using like an A10 on a boom, but now they want to put a mic on talent as well. And so A20 on talent and A10 on a boom is a really common location sound application. And so that's been great for us.
Yeah. And and I know we did another video with Paul Isaacs a while back about the A20 Mini, but obviously there's the size difference and then there's the transmission power.
Right.
Right.
So the transmission power is similar. The A20 goes from 2 milliwatts to 10 to 20 and then 40. And your A10 goes from 10 to 20 to 50.
Got it. Okay.
So it's
pretty
very
similar.
Yeah.
So that's the wireless side of Sound Devices.
Yeah.
Recorder side, so the Scorpio.
Yep.
888.
Right.
833. And what, the 1840 or the 1940 is coming out? I just made that up. No, we're just always curious about...
Who told you about that? Yeah,
exactly. About, because there's not really a great, Dante rack recorder to replace the 970.
Right.
I'm trying to pump you for information.
I will say it's something that we do get a lot of requests for is a 970 replacement. And so definitely the product folks hear that. And yeah, Dante, particularly for us, with the 888 and the Scorpio having Dante, you can get an A20 rack where you could take the A10 receivers, put that in a rack mount that also has Dante. So Dante is definitely something we see people using on set more and more, right?
It's on the minds, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you've got the mixed preline, the 10 and the 6 and the 3 is coming back soon, I hear.
That's the rumor. Yeah, the 3 has not been discontinued, but it's just because of parts availability has been kind of paused for manufacturing. So as soon as we can get parts back in stock for that, we'll continue making the mix-free 3 Series 2.
Sorry.
All right.
Yes, TK. Yep, not right now. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So, as an applications engineer, what does that mean?
So I'm the person that talks to folks who are using the Sound Devices product in the field, primarily wireless products for me at this point, because there's a lot of, not just Sound Devices wireless, but because we have like an SL2 slot chassis that can fit on an 8 series mixer recorder, people are using Shure or Electrosonics slot receivers. I end up talking to them about how to make that entire system work well together. Obviously, it's great if they're using an A10 receiver with that, and I can talk them through that as well. But I try and help folks out with the different applications, for the different products. And it's sort of like if you talk to tech support and you have maybe a more difficult problem, you can end up in applications engineering talking to me about it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to open it up to questions from the internet. Anything for Gary from Sound Devices about audio limited or Sound Devices, wireless, or mixer recorders?
No questions.
Okay.
All right.
Got it. Very good.
We've done too good a job of covering everything.
Anything else that you want to
I would
add?
say, Gary, if you could talk a little bit about where you came from and what your experience is before coming to Sound Devices.
Sure. Yeah, so before I came to Sound Devices, I was a RF technician, and I worked events sort of all over the country. People probably know me from doing the Super Bowl halftime show. I've done the Super Bowl halftime show the last 6 years. But other large special events, Latin Grammy Awards, a lot of corporate events, things for Salesforce or SAP, frequency coordination for that. So I've got a lot of experience with wireless product. And so coming to Sound Devices and helping to support the Sound Devices wireless gear has been great, and it's been fun being on the manufacturer side, kind of bringing my field knowledge into helping location sound folks out.
Great. All right. Well, perfect.
Right.
Gary, thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks.
Stay tuned for more live from NAB 2020. You can watch this video and more at gothamsound.tv. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, email us at info@gothamsound.com with any questions, comments, or concerns. See you in a few minutes.